Good morning. Welcome back to Fit Body Secrets, where my mission is to bring you guys inspiration, motivation, and a ton of tips to help y'all on your fitness, your health, or your fat loss journey. And I'm going to go ahead and get myself live on the gram. 3, 2, 1. Boom. I am live on the gram. Good morning, everybody. Let me just make sure I see somebody pop up here so I can just get the thumbs up that I'm actually officially live. And if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, you can say hi. Good morning. Pengy Wiggin, Bale Dragon, Nike Girl. What's up? All right. So I am live on both. Let me just make sure I'm live here. Who's on YouTube? Good morning. Base Show is watching and he says sausages. Well, I don't actually have any sausage at my house. But good morning, Ken. Nice seeing some guys on the show this morning. Don't worry, I won't be talking about women's hormones. I'll be saving that for my upcoming virtual event that I'm going to be posting about later this week. Happy Tuesday, y'all. How's everybody doing today? I have a little bit of a different topic today that I thought would be very helpful because I'm going to be honest, your coach's mind is always just overloaded with information that I want to share. And I only do one podcast a week because that's pretty much what my schedule will allow. And I have a lot of topics that I want to talk about. Specifically, I do want to get into some topics regarding like what's the best nutrition method for you to achieve your goals. There's been a ton of stuff out there right now going on about like, should you track macros? Should you not track macros? Along with this whole new push from like influencers about like switching from high intensity training to low intensity training. But all of this stuff is stuff that I have a lot of stuff that I'm going to save because I have a couple of things coming up that I'll be talking about. And we're just going to wait on that. But today, what I felt like you guys really needed to hear about is I know I have a lot of really smart people that follow me. I know that a lot of you guys have likely done, you guys are absorbing my content. You guys ask me a lot of good questions whenever I'm on Instagram or I'm on Facebook or I'm on YouTube. You guys are asking the right stuff. There's a lot of you guys out there that have all of the information, but why are you still struggling to see results? Why are you still struggling? Why are you still waking up in the morning, going through the motions in life, and then you see a photo of yourself and be like, oh man, that's not changing. Or you're like, God, like my sleep is just horrible. Like, why am I never sleeping? Or my hormones are trash. Or, I can't figure out why I can't control myself with food. You've got all of these things going on in your life, but you still, you have all of this information, right? Like you've likely downloaded every free guide. You absorb all of these different podcasts. You listen to all of these different people. You've had all of the different recipes and all of this stuff. And you're still sitting here wondering, why am I not changing? And maybe you even have the thought of like, I know exactly why I'm not changing. I know that there's a reason why I'm not changing. I just have to do it. Like, I know what I got to do. I just got to do it. And today's episode, I want to really talk about the biggest problem I see with anybody looking to commit to making lifestyle changes to improve your fitness, your health, your body composition, whatever it is you're looking for. You know that you need to make changes to your training or more specifically to your nutrition to make things change. And you are literally full of stuff. So today I want to help make it easier for you to know exactly what you need to change. So let's start with this. All right. Summertime is coming. Summertime is going to be here if you live in a humid climate, it already feels like summertime. Like I think we get maybe 2 or 3 weekends out of the year in Florida where it's like winter. And a lot of y'all are going to wait until you see a photo of yourself in a bathing suit and be like, oh shit, I need to do something about this. And that means that if you start then, you are going to look different at the end of the summer when you're going back into regular work mode. And then what comes next? Winter, when you don't really care about how you look because you're in sweatshirts and baggy clothes and all this kinds of stuff, right? And then it's all about the social stuff. So thinking about how right now is when you need to be taking action. And I want to kind of start with that because I know that a lot of you guys, I said, already know that there's some things you need to be changing, but you don't know how to change them. And I'm here to help with that today. Okay. So let's talk about some of the things that are really, well, before I start talking about the things that are holding you back, what I want to go over first and foremost is the big problem, the elephant in the room. Okay. All of the education in the world, even for myself, without being willing to execute on it, is going to get you nowhere. Okay. You can read all of the books, download all of the podcasts, have all of the recipe guides, all of the online calculations for your macros, all of the training programs, all of that stuff is literally sitting opportunities for you to be able to say, I'm going to commit to this one thing. And I want to start with that because as I'm going through these reasons why you're not doing those things, I want you guys to realize that that is the number one problem. It does not matter what you know if you are not willing to change. I can tell you all of the things you need to do. If you are not willing to take action on that stuff, you are not going to change. So you don't need more education. In fact, you likely need less. And that's where I'm going to start with. So the number one reason why people get stuck, it comes down to number one, paralysis by analysis. You are literally overflowed with information. Okay. Is it my hormones? Is it calorie deficit? Is it the fact that do I need to follow carnivore? Do I need to do some fasting? Do I need more cardio? Am I too stressed? Is it my gut? Like you got all of this stuff, right? All of these different ideas. Should I track macros? Should I not track macros? One person's telling you one thing, the other person's telling you the other thing, which is why I'm saving that for a whole other episode. But you've got all of these different things you're thinking about, and you can't get clarity on like taking action on one simple thing. And I totally know that. It's very overwhelming. And unfortunately, the nutrition coaching space and even the health coaching space and even the medical field is full of conflicting information. And it really comes down to this one thing. You have to trust one opinion and go with that one opinion. Like it really does matter. And knowing what matters most for your specific goal. Okay. So you really have to get over this paralysis by analysis. You think you need to learn more, but you already have too much information and you get stuck in these learning loops and never actually move forward on one thing. In fact, I could even talk diet specific. Okay. You can recomp your body, lose body fat, improve your health following a number of different diets. However, it's important to know how to make that diet work for you, which is why I don't really believe in following a diet because a specific diet isn't necessary. Okay. But if that's going to get you focusing on one thing to build some traction, then it might be one thing to get you moving in the right direction. Okay. So perfect example, myself, right? I don't know how many of you guys know my story. I should probably do a little reintroduce myself thing at some point. But I had an eating disorder when I was younger. So I spent the earlier part of my 20s starving myself, literally living on 200 to 300 calories a day, got down to 80 pounds. Okay. When I first joined CrossFit, the one thing I went all in on was paleo. I said, all right, I'm just going to completely rewire my brain right now to be thinking about restriction and focus on a health-focused diet. Was that necessarily the right thing for me, like specifically for health? At that point, it actually was, because it gave me something to focus on to fuel my body. It also built a foundation of quality food, lots of nutrient-rich foods. What it was lacking was calorie control and an understanding of food flexibility. But it got me into the right mindset of focusing on one thing. And then when I realized that calories weren't being controlled and I was also not having enough flexibility and I was gaining weight, unwanted weight, I was like, okay, I need to find balance. So then I added on and I started focusing on one thing. I'm going to control my calorie intake. Oh, there's really two things, and get enough protein. All right. So it's always knowing that I was focusing on one thing. When you do that, it makes it so much easier to implement into your life, which I'm going to talk about because I know what y'all are saying. Cheryl, like, I've got 3 kids, a full-time job. I'm trying to get to the gym. I'm trying to juggle being a sports mom and this and that. And like, my brain is just fried. I get it. Like, I totally understand. It is not easy. And for me to say that at like 26 years old, that I had all of those responsibilities when I was making these lifestyle changes would not be fair to you. Okay. Because at that point, I was a full-time athlete. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I was working, but my work schedule was very flexible for the most part. Although I say that, but if you're a CrossFit coach, I know you know it's flexible in a very unflexible way. It's not always fun. Your days are long. All right. So paralysis by analysis is one of the first things. The second problem I see, maybe you are ready to take action on that one thing, so it's like, all right, I'm ready to start tracking my food. I'm ready. But you're waiting for the perfect time to start. Okay. So you're telling yourself, oh my God, life is so crazy and overwhelming. I cannot start this new thing right now. And I got to wait until life slows down a little bit to implement this. I've got too many vacations. I've got too much stuff going on. I just don't have the time to dedicate to my goals right now. Or I'm just not feeling motivated. Like right now is just not the right time. And then you wait for that pain picture to come up, or you see yourself in a photo and you're like, ugh, what the hell? Right? And now you're like, I'm ready to take action for like 2 or 3 days. The big thing is like, guys, the perfect time does not exist. And waiting for the perfect time implies that you are going to temporarily be living in an isolated circumstance from your normal life. And what that means for you is that your results are going to be temporarily lived. You're not going to be able to maintain them because once life kicks back in, you're not going to be able to follow the plan. Your plan needs to be flexible. And oftentimes these things you need to implement are not hard to implement in your life if you're only focusing on one thing at a time, right? If I went back to when I ate paleo, I only focused on that one thing. It didn't mean I had to meal prep. It didn't mean I couldn't eat out. It didn't mean I, had to, all it meant was when I was making food choices, it was like, did it come from an animal with a face or did it come from the freaking earth? Like, was it grown in the grass somewhere? Like, and that was pretty easy to navigate. Like I could literally do that anywhere. If I went to Five Guys, I would be the girl that's like, I'm just going to get 2 burger patties. Wasn't always great, but it would happen. It would work, right? So it's knowing that there is like one thing, and that's why diet buckets for some people are helpful. I do have an episode of diet buckets. So, but you're always waiting for the perfect time, and it just doesn't exist. You can start today thinking it's going to be a perfect day, and 5 things could go wrong. Okay, you don't need the perfect time. You need a plan, and we're going to talk about that coming out later on. Okay, you need to have a plan that is flexible enough to work with your lifestyle. Everything you need to do needs to fit into your current situation. Now, I'm not saying that there's not going to be some sacrifice, right? You're going to have to make some sacrifice because likely the lifestyle you're living is getting you the results you have. I read something and I was going to make a post about it. Your body is not the side effect of your goals. It is the side effect of your habits. So right now you are walking around the way you're living. Like what people see is how you live, however that is. Okay. So it's really important for you guys. As I just said that, I'm just thinking about myself because most of the time I walk around in gym clothes or my pajamas. Literally, I do go to the grocery store in my pajamas. Rarely do I ever put makeup on, although I do try and put a little bit on for you guys. And I'm like, people just must think I'm a hot mess. But it's because what are my priorities? I work. Most of my day is spent behind my computer working with my clients, or it's in the gym because I want to be fit and I love working out. Like that's what I do. So that's my life. I don't really need to get dolled up for either of those things. Anyway, so there's no perfect time. The third problem is you never fully commit yourself to this one thing. This is where I actually do like challenges a little bit because it is very helpful for you to kind of be focused for like, I'm just going to do this for 30 days. And if you can continue that on beyond the 30 or the 60 or the 90 days, it can be really helpful because it usually does get people fully committed. And if it's something that you can actually do long term, it's likely going to stick. But when you're never fully committing, you're typically usually dabbling in things. I see this all the time with, I've been tracking my macros and I'm not seeing any results. And I'm like, okay, let's take a look at your food diary. And I will do assessments. And somebody reaches out to me on Instagram and I look back at their food and I'm like, okay, for the last 6 to 8 weeks, I see maybe 4 days out of the week logged perfectly. And then 1 or 2 days are like half. And then some weeks there's 3 days not even logged. I'm like, yo, you never even gave anything a full 30 days to see if it was going to work. You got to be consistent with committing to whatever you're committing to. Okay. You're also maybe starting 10 different plans at once and expecting that they're all going to sometimes, or that you're going to be able to handle all of those things. This is the big thing. Literally, it's you start everything at the same time. So for instance, when I first start my clients, I'm like, hey, first couple of days, all I want you to do is weigh and track your food. And then they're like, but what are my macros supposed to be? But what about meal prep? Literally, start with one thing. Because the problem normally is when I tell you, okay, this week you're going to meal prep, you're going to hit your macros, you're going to make sure you're getting enough fiber, you're going to make sure you're getting enough vegetables and protein, and you're like thinking about all of these different things, it's entirely too overwhelming. It's like you're just overloaded with information. It's like you have to know, when I have a couple of days worth of your food diary, I will be able to tell you, these are the 1 or 2 things that are going to move the needle the furthest for you. I want you to focus on these 2 things. So it's knowing that you don't have to commit to everything at once, because then you're going to half-ass it. It's knowing what matters most. And for you, that might be, man, my freaking work schedule is so crazy. If I'm going to commit to one thing this week, it's going to be, I'm going to ensure that I do have some food prepped on Sunday so that I don't have to rely on eating out. And even if my quote unquote macros aren't perfect, I am going to make sure that I've prepared all of my food at home with the best that I can. That might be what you do, So the reality here is, for a lot of you guys, what you need to know is that the basics is usually what work best and what you need the most. You go down all of these education rabbit holes, going back to the paralysis by analysis of like, do I need to be like doing different meal timing, or what about, hormones and what about, optimizing for, like, start with the freaking basics. Like, the basics work best. And if you're beyond the basics, usually it means that you don't have the right amount of calories or nutrients, or you're micronutrient deficient, which kind of goes into nutrients. Okay. But the basics normally work best, and it helps you undercommit. Undercommitting and over-delivering is the best advice I can give you right now. Okay. Here's the next one. And the last one. There is a difference between what you know and what you do. I forget who said it. Maybe it was one of the old Greek scholars. Education is what you know. Knowledge is what you know. Wisdom is applying what you know. Something along those lines. Don't quote me on that. But basically what I'm saying is, there's a difference between what you know and applying what you know. And the smartest people, the most successful people, take what they know and they learn how to apply it. And that means sometimes it's going to be making mistakes and learning what doesn't work. That is the best way to find the right plan for you. Like I mentioned with myself, going paleo got me off to the right start, but it wasn't the right finish. I built my foundation, and then I added more complexity and ensured that I was making the modifications that I needed for it to be sustainable for me. Okay. Execution on a plan is way more important than the information for it. And that's why today I do a lot of education, guys. I really try to make sure that I am somebody who puts a non-opinion, non-biased version of nutrition and training advice based on what I know to be true by science, by studies, and all of that stuff. I'm not telling you that you have to track macros. I'm not telling you that you don't have to track macros. I will tell you that specific things matter. Being in a calorie deficit is the only way to lose weight, right? I will go over the things that matter. Your hormones do matter, okay? I'm not going to tell you that that's why you can't lose weight, though. I'm going to give you the science. I'm going to give you the education, but it's up to you to be willing to say, okay, I'm going to implement, or I need help implementing this. Asking for help, making yourself vulnerable is the best way to see success. I did not get where I am in my life by doing everything myself. I can take a lot of credit for my hard work, but I would not be where I am today in my fitness journey, in my life goals, in my health, or anything if I did not take advice from people that were smarter than me. And that's why I keep learning and why I keep making progress, because I am willing to be vulnerable. The only way you are going to make progress is to be vulnerable. You are likely very smart. You likely have a lot of information. In fact, I've got some clients that having conversations with them is so much fun because I can geek out and like they get it. But you have got to be willing to take action. Okay, so I want to give you guys some tips today. The number one tip that I have for all of you guys out there, you guys are all different lifestyles. You need to simplify. You need to focus on the biggest movers and be patient with your results in the process, because I want you to think about every change you're making being a change for the rest of your life. So what that's going to help you do is actually implement it for the long haul. If I'm like, okay, I'm going to cut down my eating out to twice a week, and that's manageable for you, now that is a new norm in your life. I'm going to commit to tracking my food. Doesn't mean that every day has to be perfect. I'm just going to make sure that I'm keeping tabs of my calorie intake so that if things aren't moving in the direction that I want them to, I can adjust. Or if I want them to move in the direction, I can adjust. Okay. Focusing on the big movers that are going to create the biggest changes. And maybe you don't know what that is for you. Maybe that's where you are having the paralysis by analysis. Reach out to me. Do not be afraid to send me a DM, send me an email. I have my nutrition coaching application on my form. I always set up a call to talk to you about your specifics because I want you guys to have education on what I think you need most. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I will be honest with you. For some people, I'm like, hey, yo, you're drinking entirely too much alcohol. I think if you just cut out alcohol, you're going to drop 5 pounds fast. Like you don't need any more complexity than that. So it's stuff like that. So knowing what matters most. Second tip I'm going to give you. I will not take credit for this. I love the book Atomic Habits. I love James Clear. Habit stacking. Trying to stack new habits with existing ones. So for instance, and I'm going to keep talking about food tracking because for a lot of you guys out there, this is probably the biggest marble that will move you forward, because if you track your food, you can change your food. So a good habit stack might be every time you eat, you open your phone and you track it. So rather than opening up Instagram and scrolling through Instagram while you're eating, open up your food tracking app and pop the food in there. You know, it might be making that stack. Maybe you're habit stacking after, maybe with breakfast, you're also prepping your dinner. Like you're doing something to move the needle forward on a new habit. Maybe every time you eat, you're now going for a walk after you eat. Like you're finding a way to stack a habit with a current one. And then the final tip that I have for today for this, and this is probably the most important tip for all of you guys out there, is you are not going to wing your way into a new change. Like just winging it every day isn't going to help. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't just jump in. Like it should not require a huge complex plan, but you need to be planning ahead. You need to have some type of a strategy. Otherwise, you are going to continue to fall short. And so that's why simplifying can make that easy. Planning ahead doesn't mean that you have to have every single meal for Monday through Friday planned out and in your refrigerator, already in a Tupperware, ready for you to pop it in the microwave, right? It's like, okay, planning ahead might be thinking that I just had breakfast. What do I have in my refrigerator? Oh, I've got Greek yogurt. I've got some berries. I'm going to have that as a snack. Like that's planning ahead. That's as simple as this. You're always one step ahead of where you need to be, because if you're not a step ahead, chances are the second something happens in your day, which it will, you're going to be 2 steps behind. And that's why you constantly get stuck in this day one feedback loop. How many day ones are you going to have before you have a day 365? Like, that's really what life is about. That's what execution is about. You are stuck in this beginning phase of making changes. And here's what I'm going to give you credit for. You guys have already done hard things. You have already made some change in your life, whether it's you started working out, whether it is you did start eating healthier. You already did one hard thing at one point, and you know it got easier over time, and you've adapted to that. And you got to make the next big thing happen. You got to make that next big change. Okay. So my advice to you today is, and then I'm going to open up for any questions related to this, not related to this, is that I know I'm recording a podcast right now. You're listening to a podcast, you're listening to me on YouTube, or you're listening to me on Instagram. You don't need any more education. You don't need another book. You don't need another recipe guide that you're going to just sit in your email list. You don't need any of that shit. You need to take action. Like, messy action is going to get you way further than perfect planning. Like, just fucking do it. Just freaking do it. Like, just jump into something. Whatever it is right now is right now, if you're listening, you likely have something in your head that you're like, I need to commit to that. And I would love for you to share it with me, whether you're posting it in the comments here or you want to DM it to me. What is that like one thing you know is holding you back right now that you need to commit to? I would love to help you with that. Go all in on that. Stop half-assing your efforts on that one thing. Go all in on that one thing. Pick that one thing and actually go follow through and do that one thing. Like, that's my mic drop moment for today. That's what I got for y'all today. So I'm going to open up the floor to questions. If you guys got one thing on your mind, I want to know what that one thing is. If you guys have questions about nutrition, questions about training, questions about maybe you do feel like information overload and you don't know what to focus on, pop it in the chat. Let me know. I'm looking over here on everything. Good morning, Dad. My dad's watching. Well, he was. He might not still be watching because he's working. A little funny story, guys. My mom and my dad are born 2 years apart, but 1 day apart. So today is my mama's birthday, and tomorrow is my dad's birthday, which is kind of cool. But I was thinking about this morning because I sent my mama a good morning, happy birthday text. I'm like, my dad kind of gets the shit under the stick because he's like after like the birthday celebration. Because I was like, what day would we celebrate the birthday on? It's just kind of, I don't know. I guess either way, but just something I wanted to share. So what questions do you guys have? Nutrition, training, any specific information overload you're feeling? I'm going to just kind of look up here to see if I missed anything. All right. Well, okay. So 2 things before I sign off. Next week's episode, I am going to be diving into a little bit of, I don't want anybody to ever think that I am a negative person. I work very hard to be a positive person. And I shouldn't even say positive, but just like a non-judgmental, non-biased person. But I do think that there is a lot of negativity around specific things related to high intensity training, macro tracking, and this world of like not being able to recognize what it feels like to actually put hard work in on yourself. And anyways, I have a lot of thoughts that I want to put on next week's podcast episode, but I am going to save that. And then I'm also going to be doing, I'm going to read that, Pam, in a second, a virtual event for women. If you are a woman over the age of 35, and I'm starting at 35 because of the fact that I know, good morning, Kev. You just missed a really good episode, by the way. You better make sure you rewind and watch this whole thing. But this is not this part's not related to you, Kevin. But if you are a woman and you are over the age of 35, I am going to be doing a special virtual event next week. The date is still TBA because I'm putting a request out to my current email subscribers as to what day they would like best. And I'm going to be covering like hormonal changes over the age of 35, how it impacts things like your, body composition, your hormones, your nutrition habits, maybe some lifestyle changes, all of that stuff. I will talk a little bit about your period, training around that, a little bit about some more specific hormone related conditions like, PCOS and stuff like that. If you guys want to be a part of that, I will be putting the sign up out for that on Friday, but I'm letting my email list decide when we're actually going to be doing it. It's either going to be on a Thursday afternoon or a Saturday morning, because that's, like I said, my schedule. My clients get the majority of my life and my energy, and that's the way it stays. So you guys get the times that I have left on my schedule. So Pam, let me just go ahead and read this over from you. You said one thing you have made me more focused on is fiber. So where I would do macros and focus on protein and calories, he made it important: fiber, calories, and protein. If I track, I win, and it fits. Okay, that's okay. So yes. So guys, this is a big thing. Is a lot of people in the world of quote unquote macros, they don't focus on food quality or fiber, and oftentimes making some changes there makes the diet more sustainable, because your hunger is better. You're actually getting more nutrients. Your gut health is better. Your nutrition is not just macros. That's a piece of the puzzle. It is not the whole puzzle. It's kind of like having an idea of how much money you need and not knowing how you need to spend it. Like, that's really what it's like. It'd be like having money in your bank account, but not knowing what your priorities are and just spending the money on whatever you want. And you got to know all of the things. So that is really important. You are so welcome for your support. I definitely do love what I do. So this is what I'm passionate about. This is what keeps me up at night. This is what keeps me always thinking. So if you guys need anything, I'm always here to help. I'm going to just scroll over to YouTube and see. All right. Any other last minute questions? And no worries, I totally understand. All right. Well, I do hope that you guys, if you are going to send me what you think you need to focus on, I would love for you guys to do that. And if you are not ready to take action, that's the perfect time to take action. That's what this episode was all about. This was all about getting you guys to understand that the information, paralysis by analysis, the overloading of education, wondering what's the perfect plan is never going to move the needle as much as you just starting to work. Like, making mistakes along the way is the best way to be successful. So hopefully that helps you guys all out today. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I will see you all on the next episode.